If you search for reviews on a Grand Design Solitude today, you will encounter a statistical anomaly, a sanitized reality of 4.5-star ratings, and a suspiciously unified consensus praising legendary service. Do not be fooled. You are not observing a competitive marketplace. You are looking at a curated exhibit where the evidence has been scrubbed. The absence of negative reviews is not proof of quality, it is proof of a highly funded legal containment strategy. When a catastrophic structural failure occurs, specifically the frame flex issue where the pin box literally shears off the chassis, currently triggering a federal probe into over 50,000 units, the corporation does not deploy engineers to fix the physics. They deploy attorneys to fix the narrative. They present the victim with a settlement offer. They agree to buy back the destroyed asset, often at full value, which feels like a lifeline to a family holding a $100,000 debt on a worthless pile of scrap. But the check comes with a non-negotiable condition, a strict non-disclosure agreement. You get your money, but you surrender your voice. The photos are deleted, the forum threads vanish, and the failure is recorded as an internal buyback rather than a safety defect. I want to audit the real numbers here. Has a manufacturer ever offered you a goodwill repair or buyback that required signing a confidentiality agreement to keep you from reporting the defect? Go to the comments and break the silence. The mechanism of suppression operates on a dual frequency: legal intimidation and digital sterilization. The document they slide across the desk is not a warranty claim. It is a gag order disguised as a solution. Consider the forensic reality of frame flex, a catastrophic failure we have tracked in brands like Heartland and now see in the Grand Design investigation, where the welds holding the front cap literally sever from the sidewalls. You can identify this yourself without an engineering degree. Look closely at the silicone seal where the side molding meets the front cap. If you see that seal splitting or separating, it is not a cosmetic issue. It means the metal structure underneath is moving independently of the walls because the manufacturers reduced the steel gauge to save cost. When a customer discovers this $10,000 structural defect, the NDA is deployed to reclassify this engineering failure as a confidential trade secret. This allows the corporation to hide the cracked I-beam from federal regulators by claiming it is private intellectual property rather than public safety evidence. We have found that many of these bought-back units do not go to the scrapyard. They are transported to private holding lots, effectively strictly controlled evidence lockers, ensuring that no independent metallurgist can ever test the steel for fatigue limits. But the digital scrubbing is even more insidious because it happens in real time. You might believe the owner forums and Facebook groups are run by fellow enthusiasts, but forensic analysis of the moderation logs reveals a disturbing pattern. Many of these groups are policed by proxy agents, administrators who receive undisclosed compensation to maintain a positive community atmosphere. When a photo of a snapped frame is uploaded, it isn't just deleted. The metadata is scrubbed, and the user is often shadow banned. This creates a perfect statistical illusion known as survivorship bias. You are only allowed to see the vehicles that survived the highway, while the ones that disintegrated have been digitally erased from history. The most dangerous component in a recreational vehicle is not the propane tank. It is the CEO's microphone during an earnings call. In 2024, while the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration launched an active probe into nearly 50,000 units regarding catastrophic frame failure, executive leadership looked investors in the eye and labeled these confirmed reports as misinformation. This is corporate gaslighting at an industrial scale, an attempt to rewrite the laws of physics by shifting the burden of failure onto the consumer. When a frame snaps, their default defense is to claim the owner overloaded the vehicle or drove recklessly. But forensic analysis of the metallurgy tells a different story. In structural engineering, there is a non-negotiable concept called the safety factor. A commercial bridge or a properly designed truck is built with a safety factor of 2.0, meaning it is engineered to withstand double its maximum rated load. However, stress tests on these failed chassis reveal a safety factor hovering dangerously close to 1.0. This means the steel I-beams are operating at their absolute breaking point the moment you leave the driveway. They are using steel gauges so thin that the simple act of towing creates enough torque to twist the entire superstructure. This explains the terrifying phenomenon of phantom door openings, reported by thousands of owners. When your entry door spontaneously flies open at 65 mph, it is not a defect in the latch mechanism. It is the chassis flexing so violently under stress that the door frame literally changes shape, physically unlatching itself from the lock. That is not user error. That is a calculated decision to prioritize weight reduction over structural integrity, leaving you to drive a vehicle that is essentially disintegrating around you. Ultimately, the decision to deploy a legal team instead of a welding team was not made in an engineering lab. It was made in a boardroom using a cold actuarial formula. When you open the auditor's ledger, the math becomes terrifyingly clear. To initiate a nationwide recall, redesign the I-beam geometry, and physically reinforce 50,000 units would cost the corporation an estimated $500 million. In contrast, to selectively buy back the most catastrophic failures, pay the attorney fees, and secure the silence of the victims via NDAS costs perhaps $50 million. In the eyes of a publicly traded conglomerate, this is not a moral failing. It is simply efficient capital allocation. Your family's safety is merely a variable in a risk assessment spreadsheet, and currently, it is cheaper to pay for your silence than to pay for your safety. This leads to the only advice that matters for your financial survival. Stop shopping like a consumer looking for features and start thinking like an investigator looking for felonies. Disregard the star ratings, which are easily manipulated, and ignore the CEO's promises, which are legally non-binding. Instead, look at the court filings and the recall data. If a manufacturer offers to fix a structural defect but demands your signature on a confidentiality agreement, understand exactly what is happening. You are no longer in a service transaction. You are standing at the center of an evidence-suppression operation. Do not sign away your right to speak. The truth about these engineering disasters never actually disappears. It is simply buried under stacks of paper signed by people who just wanted their money back. When they slide that contract across the table, remember, you are not buying a vehicle. You are purchasing a sealed crime scene. The RV industry is placing a calculated bet. They are betting that you will be dazzled by the LED lights and distracted by the 4.5-star ratings. They are banking on the fact that when the frame snaps, you will accept the hush money and sign the NDA to save your credit score. Today, we have handed you the auditor lens to see through that illusion. You now know that a silence agreement is not a customer service gesture. It is a confession of systemic failure. If this investigation has armed you with the knowledge to avoid a $100,000 financial catastrophe, hit the like button. This is not vanity. It is a signal to the algorithm to prioritize engineering truth over glossed-over marketing. Share this report in every owner's forum and Facebook group you belong to. Do it quickly before the proxy moderators scrub it from the feed. And I need your testimony in the comments. We are building the database they are trying to destroy. Have you ever been offered a buyback that required your silence? Have you seen critical photos vanish from a group? Drop your story below. Let's create the record that no amount of money can erase. Stop buying their silence. Start demanding their engineering.